It always does it, but hang on. It seems to happen. And I still can't wait for that bell. News. Hang on, I'm still checking right now. Let's see. Yeah, you are live now.
All right. Radar. Do you want to let the audience know what we can of what they can ask?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, first and foremost, hello. I'm sure most people would already know me by now. I go by Funfloof, the cartoon, in most social media, but you can call me Radar or Radar the Maned Wolf. This here is my Sonic the Hedgehog project. I've been working on this for over 3 years, where I'm basically summarizing the whole main Sega Sonic canon, where it is pretty much, it's pretty much a guide to the games as well as keeping track of all of the canonical stories to Sega Sonic, aka Game Sonic, as people tend to call him. This also includes the likes of the IDW publishing comics that they've done for Sonic, as well as, to be discussed, Sonic Prime, the Netflix TV show, and the Japanese material from Sega of Japan and Sonic Channel, as well as a few other additional things. Um, but the main point of this stream is that we have finally made it to talk about the modern era, where we are gonna be talking about every game. That's right, every game is allowed in this discussion. You can ask any lore question in regards to the classic games, the Dreamcast era games, or the modern games. We are literally going from Sonic 1 all the way to Sonic Frontiers, because Sonic Dream Team just came out very, very recently, but due to spoilers and also the Apple Arcade exclusivity, I think I said that wrong. I butchered it. Maybe I don't know. We are not going to be talking about Sonic Dream Team in this stream. Just to respect out of people who are going to play the game or people who cannot play the game as of right now. Um, but yes, everything else, it's all fair game. And additionally, in our first episode with the classic era, we were not able to talk about Superstars due to that coming out at the time. But now it's been 2 months since the game has released, so now we are fully down to talk about Sonic Superstars. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't played the game. I am very sorry, but pretty sure the embargo's over by now. But yes. That is pretty much it. I don't think I have anything else much to say apart from the fact that um because the modern era has a wide variety of games ranging since 2005, we are going to be splitting off talking about the IDW modern comics. In our classic stream, we talked about both the classic games and the classic comics because there is not that many compared to um, the modern era of media. Um, but unfortunately, the modern era is 2 times that of classic, so we aren't going to be talking about IDW the main book yet, but stay tuned. Stay tuned for that if you want to talk. If you want to hear us talk about IDW, we are just focusing on the games. We're just talking about the games, as well as any additional material such as prequel comics and animations. That should be it for me. That's all. Yep, that's it for me.
So yes, please do not ask about Sonic Dream Team. That just came out recently, and and we do want to respect if people who do want to play the game. So please do not ask anything about Sonic Dream Team. That will probably be saved for like a later live stream, and everything. So, Kevin, do you have any lore questions about any of the modern era Sonic games?
Let's see. I have a question for you, Floof. When you first played Sonic One through Sonic Three and Knuckles, did you not realize until later that their stories were all connected together?
I mean, well, two and three Knuckles make it obvious due to the Death Egg being present in both stories. But for like all four of them together, no, not really. Never really would have thought that. I would have just thought that there was space in between one and CD, and then CD and two, and then two and three Knuckles make sense as a combined story esque sort of thing. Again, because of the Death Egg, but yeah, not really.
That took me a while to realize going up. Cause I thought, well, of course, two and three, obviously, you said made it obvious. I thought, like, oh, Sonic 1, it's its own thing. Sonic 2, it's its own thing. And then later, as been done, like, oh, well, that's interesting how they connected everything all together.
I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it. I don't really have anything else to say. You're giving me the simpler questions, my guy.
Ooh, I actually have a question. It was basically from the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm curious
Oh,
about
the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. All right. Oh,
it's because of that. I know like all the characters had roles in the murder mystery and all that, but I remember I think can you explain about like Tails's like backstory with the Flicky? I'm very curious to know the whole lore behind that because I know they have like lore cards, describing their backgrounds.
yeah, I can talk about that. It's a pretty simple thing. So, to clarify, um, the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog isn't exactly confirmed to be canon, but at the same time, due to the fact that it's left up to headcanon and because, well, the fandom received it very, very well, I just decided to put it on my project until I'm, someone from Sega or even Ian Flynn says otherwise, because, like, it's still a published Sega game, despite the fact it's not really, like a Sonic game, but it's still like a fun game in the Sonic series. Like, it's just there, but it's at the same time it was really fun to have that. And also to recap, the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog is a game that takes place on Amy's birthday, and Amy has invited everyone onto a little train ride where they're planning on doing a murder mystery, and so everyone was given lore cards for all of their roles. Um, this included Tails, where Tails was a detective, and uh, he had a little flicky friend. He had a little flicky friend, but uh, they were best friends. But then the flicky decided to join Eggman, and the flicky became evil. Coincidentally, that same flicky that Tails is talking about was also involved with this whole story, but I'm not gonna. But I won't go too much into that, and because the game's free and you can go play it on your own. So that's a fun thing. The game is entirely free. You can play it on your own time and everything. So if you want to go play it, I'm not gonna spoil it here for you. But we in case some other questions do come up, we will talk about spoilers if given. But yeah. And ever since the Flicky became evil and joined Eggman, Tails' desire for justice in the world it gave him the kick to go out on adventures. That's pretty much his lore. And Tails was really into the detective role during this game. I think it was pretty adorable. He was just really into the mystery, um, and like having him and Amy along for the ride with your character is also pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. I found it quite interesting with that game, like for sure that because I kind of feel like Tails was like really channeling their inner Velma.
That's what you want to compare it to?
Yes.
I mean, it's fitting for Tails.
Yeah, Tails is pretty much the Velma in Sonic in the Sonic franchise. Literally, especially because in this game.
At least he isn't held back by glasses.
Oh my gosh, but
I'm sorry. I kind of had to. I'm sorry. Mm. Uh, so, let's see here. Uh, oh yeah, that was another thing that we did in the past, where I would talk about little fun facts about specific games. At least during the in betweens of people asking questions and stuff. I am seeing some people there. Hello, Tailskull. Hello, Rainboom. Hello, Joy. Please, remember, any questions you'd like to ask about the current Sonic lore, ask away. Anything that your heart desires and you really, really want to know. We will be waiting, and it'll be fun. Uh, since we're on the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, I might as well go ahead and share the first of Radar's fun facts. Um, and I actually have it here listed down. So, with the IDW comics, I like to take in cameo appearances from characters that are either outside of the franchise or are official creations by people who work with Sega. Um, one of those cameos was by none other than Mini Kitty, or as you may know her as Katie from the Sonic social media team. She is the social media coordinator after Aaron Weber. Um, a little smaller fun fact: she also voiced the Jade Wisp in Rise of the Wisps. But basically, the cameo is their name is John. John is a hero chow that originated from Katie and her brother's childhood playthrough of Sonic Adventure 2B. And John is seen in the library car where SBO is doing one of his poem performances, and the Chow are holding the stage curtains, and John is there with the other Chow.
oh wow. That's a very neat cameo detail there. I did
I
not know
didn't
that.
spot that until now.
Yeah, uh, yeah, it's just one of the many small things that you don't exactly find out until you like scroll like on like social media. It's like, hey, wait a second, because like yeah, I believe Katie also got like like an artwork from one of the I believe it's one of the animation teams that worked on one of the Sonic animations. I don't remember who it was, but all I know is that Katie got like an artwork of Tails and John, because Katie's favorite character is also Tails. So that's pretty neat. We do have one question. Um, Hello, Joey Glenn. What are you guys doing? We are talking about the Sonic lore, the main Sega Sonic canon. Um, just a quick recap. I have a project where I'm summarizing the entirety of the main Sonic lore. So, and I'm here answering questions on the story of Sonic. So, if you'd like to find out more about this funny running hedgehog, ask away. Right. Uh, let's see here. uh, there doesn't seem to be any other questions, and I've already put out my fun fact. So I guess I'll just go back to either both of you, Leah and Kevin, if you have any other questions regarding the modern era.
Kevin, do you have any questions?
What what do you see in Trip the Sun Gazer future? Because we know Tales Tube. I think what came out about a month ago. They with the number when they pretty much said that everything was now on one timeline. It wasn't like like two separate universes or two separate timelines that people thought. So, and there was like a small teaser towards the end. It's like Amy said, like, I wonder if we can invite her. Do you think Trip may make another appearance somewhere down the line or have a place later on, and not just confined to Sonic Superstars?
Okay, now this is a really good question that not many people would be able to answer. Thank you, Kevin. Yes. Okay. So this one is a loaded one. I just hope I'm able to answer in time. So, I guess I got to give the backstory. So I'm sure a lot of you know. I'm sure all of you know about Sonic Forces. Yes, we will be talking about Sonic Forces. Mind you, it is canon, everybody. And in Sonic Forces, classic Sonic shows up in the modern age, where he had come from the events of Sonic Mania, and he had just fought both the Kleptomobile that Eggman was riding and Phantom King, the Phantom Ruby transformation of Heavy King. And they were fighting over the Phantom Ruby against Supersonic. As soon as Sonic dealt a final blow to both Eggman and Phantom King, the Phantom Ruby began to interact with the Chaos Emeralds, and that would prompt the Ruby to send a portal where both it and Classic Sonic would end up being transported to the modern era. Though there's a weird thing where the Phantom Ruby shows up 6 months before Eggman took over the world, and then Classic Sonic shows up after in that same portal. It's like it's pretty weird. I don't really know how to describe it, but let's see here. But basically, when Classic Sonic shows up, Tails was trying to fix Omega in the city on South Island, and Chaos, or at least a phantom copy of Chaos, showed up and tried to attack Tails. And we know about the infamous scene. We all know, but just bear with me here. Classic Sonic would show up, and he would attack Chaos, and Chaos goes bye-bye. Tails would realize that Classic Sonic is now present, despite the fact that modern Sonic is he's presumed dead. And Tails pointed out, "Oh, you're that Sonic from another dimension, aren't you?" And that prompted a very, very wide discussion within the community about supposedly Classic Sonic, the past version of modern Sonic, is from another dimension. And that is a conversation that would be had where for the longest time, I'd say up until around, pretty much because of the Phantom Ruby and all those shenanigans, that Classic Sonic is not a young modern Sonic, but rather a completely different Sonic that's unrelated to the one we know. And this was the case for a while. I don't exactly know how long this went on for, but I believe it wasn't it was pretty much up until like 2022, I'd say, that this was a thing where Classic Sonic was from another dimension. Things, however, changed once Sega acquired a lore team for Sonic. This is when things started to change. There were theories about supposedly Classic Sonic not being from another dimension, mainly due to the fact that Takashi Iizuka, he had talked about in a panel that he was on. I think it was on, what was the convention? South by Southwest. Yeah, that was the convention, where he mentioned that Classic Sonic from Forces and Mania was the same one from Generations, meaning that Classic Sonic was from the past, and he is the younger version of modern Sonic. So people then started to theorize people had started to theorize that it's not classic Sonic coming from another dimension, it's him coming from another timeline, a split off timeline supposedly after the events of Generations, where classic Sonic and classic Tails go back to, well, the portal led to South Island, and then I guess Mania would happen, as far as I'm aware, or some other event before they go to Angel Island. It's very, very confusing to try and justify it all. It was a bumpy road between those years. I can confidently say that. I was sorry about that. I tend to stumble over my words if I'm talking too fast. I was just as confused as the community was. However, as things went along with the lore team, and as well as the confirmation that Ian Flynn was involved with this lore team, things started to shift around. Classic Sonic didn't come from another timeline. He didn't come from another dimension. Classic Sonic is still the younger, modern Sonic. There was just a bit of weird, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff that occurred during Generations, Mania, and Forces. So, what exactly went down is that classic Sonic is still modern Sonic's younger self. Yes. And with that being said, Sonic Mania doesn't occur in another timeline. No, Sonic Mania is just an event that Sonic had in his past. Everything is all connected in one timeline. That wasn't exactly the case before, but now it is the case. So all of the additional adventures that Classic Sonic has had, Mania, the IDW comics, and Superstars as of recently, they are all just past adventures that modern Sonic has had. And through that, we now have Tails Tube. If you guys don't know, Tails Tube is a YouTube online web series where it is basically an in-universe explanation of Sonic lore, in the form of Tails streaming online, where he has his friends come on and, join him for a couple questions, like what we're doing, actually. It's a bit meta if you think about it. But yeah, so Season 2 came out with this episode, where Tails brought Sonic, Amy, and Knuckles to his laboratory on the Lost Hex. Yes, Tails has a laboratory on the Lost Hex. Pretty much, they decided to have a little segment Tails called Remember When, where they'd be reminiscing on the past adventures they had when they were younger. And after they were reminiscing and everything, Sonic, Amy, and Knuckles decided they should, all go have like a little party over in Emerald Town at Tails' house. And as they were all leaving, Sonic then reminded everyone, "Hey, isn't it the anniversary of our adventures on the North Star Islands?" Which is a reference to Sonic Superstars, because it was coming out at the time. I think it was like 2 weeks prior. I think. Yeah, probably. And Amy had mentioned, "Oh yeah, I wonder if we could invite." And then the audio pans out of being able to hear the characters. But since Sonic mentioned the North Star Islands anniversary and Amy said if they could invite someone, obviously the only person that would come up is none other than the newest character Superstars added, Trip, the Sun Gazer. And if you guys don't know, I will give that brief little summary there. Trip the Sun Gazer lives on the North Star Islands. She is this shy Sun Gazer lizard girl, where she accidentally got involved with Eggman and Fang. She was investigating Fang from afar as he was, doing his dirty business with Eggman, and he was capturing the giant animals that lived on the islands. Trip tried to fend him off, but as she does, she clumsily trips over, and she inevitably gets inducted into Fang and Eggman's little trio of trouble, as they now call it. And Trip has been forced to help Eggman and Fang around the islands to avoid any unnecessary dangers that stand in their way. And Trip acted as like a little sidekick to Fang for a little while. However, after a few not so nice gestures from Fang and also a few arguments, that kind of led to a confrontation at the end over in the Golden Capital Zone, where Trip finally decided to stand up against Fang, and yeah, she decided to finally take off her armor as we first saw her in the game, and apparently she can use the Chaos Emeralds, which I'm not gonna talk about the intricacies of that. I'll save that for a different question in case anyone wants to ask. But basically, Trip beat Fang in her super form, and she would eventually befriend Sonic and the others, and especially Amy, since Trip met Amy at the Lagoon City, and she fell into a trap that was meant for Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, but Amy decided to escort Trip out of the city as a kindly gesture, because bless Miss Rose, bless her heart. And Trip would eventually become good friends with Amy. And yeah. So yeah. Honestly, if there's no one, like, honestly, out of anyone they could have mentioned during Tails Tube, it had to have been Trip. However,
Yeah,
I do recall you asking Kevin, you said something about you in your question you were referring to Trip from like
yeah.
a
What
possible
what
mention.
kind of like future do you see in her? Cause now that they are now like, oh, everything's in one timeline. They're not like two separate universes or two separate timelines as previously thought. So
Yes. That is another thing I will discuss here. So, remember when the episode segment with Tails Tube, it was basically supposed to be like an in-universe explanation. It was like, oh, Sonic and the others reminiscing about old friends and old enemies. However, in the community, in the fandom, in the series, this is Sega's way of explaining that everything is connected in one timeline. There is no distinct separate continuities with classic or modern. It's all one world that all of these adventures happened on. However, there is some weird rules when it comes to classic. Aside from most characters like, Sonic, Eggman, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Metal Sonic, and a few others, um, the modern cast is completely separated from the classic cast. There's only a few exceptions. However, some characters have not been seen in the modern era. Um, I'm guessing that's mainly due to the fact that they don't want to like over bloat the cast, because there is a lot of distinct characters in classic than there is for modern and such. But it's just it really is strange. Like, they will mention classic characters, but we're not going to see them in modern. Like, Sonic and Tails, Knuckles and Amy, they were talking about Mighty the Armadillo, Ray the Flying Squirrel, Fang's gang. They were talking about Fang the Hunter, Bean the Dynamite, and Bark the Polar Bear. Knuckles remembered the events of Knuckles Chaotix, which featured classic versions of Vector, Espio, and Charmy. Yeah, they can reminisce and talk about them and mention them, but us as in the community seeing those characters in modern, it's not likely going to happen for a while. Heck, someone asked Ian Flynn a specific question saying, which would be more likely, humans returning in the IDW Sonic comics or classic characters coming to modern? And Ian, without hesitation and without even being subtle in the slightest, he said that it would be more likely the humans would be back in the comics than classic characters be seen in modern.
yeah, and just
Really
on
goes to
that
show.
And just on that note, I know TaleTube did a thing on humans too, because there was always like that debate, like, okay, well, are there really humans on Mobius, or is it all just anthropomorphic animals? And Tail basically said, like, yeah, they're here, they're just in this other location. So
Yes.
it would not be surprising at all if humans did show up in IDW at some point.
Yes. So, so since again, we aren't going to be talking about IDW yet, but we can talk about stuff that was confirmed in Tales Tube because that is also part of Modern. Let me wrap this up for the last question you asked in regards to the classic characters and such. Yes, the classic characters can be mentioned by the modern characters and they can be, referenced and stuff. Those characters won't be seen in Modern. So, Trip, Fang's Gang, Mighty, Ray, the hard-boiled heavies, characters like Witch Cart and the Witch Carters, characters like Honey the Cat even, they will remain classic cast characters. And the likeliness of us seeing them in Modern, I'd say we'd have a few more years to go until that happens.
I will say that, Tales 2, like, even mentioning those older games, older characters, ones that we haven't seen in a long time, was certainly quite a surprise there.
Yes. And also, yeah, that's pretty much it for them. Now, on your last thing that you mentioned, I guess I can go into another fun fact. So, in Tales Tube Season 1, there was a discussion that was brought up by a user that we can identify as the Donpaw from Team Sonic Racing. He asked Sonic and Tails to explain their entire planet. Starting off light, Sonic jokingly says. So Tails and Sonic would go off to talk about, their planet. Which I will state this. I will state this now because I don't exactly think I have stated it in the past episodes. Sonic's world in the games is Earth. We are in a continuity where this is Earth. This is not Mobius, nor are the animal people of Sonic called Mobians, as there is a lot of weird stuff that went on during those early days when it comes to that sort of thing. But yeah, like for other continuities, yeah, Mobius exists, Mobians do exist, etc. But in this continuity, we are on the planet of Earth, and these are just referred to as the animal people, or, they're referred to as their respective animals. Like Sonic is just a hedgehog, Tails is just a fox, Knuckles is just an echidna, etc. One of the popular discussions in the fandom was if there were two worlds. And that was a very early concept that was introduced, as you all know, in Sonic X, where Sonic and all of the other animal characters lived on one world while the humans were living on a separate world, and they were parallel to each other. And this was possibly evidenced in Sonic Forces. Heck, even starting off since Sonic Free Riders, even, where all those games during the 2010s only featured mainly the animal characters. It only mainly featured Sonic, his friends, all the other anthropomorphic characters. And yes, we had generations which were set in the past, but again, those were just, past adventures and the like. So, the popular discussion at the time was that there was possibly two worlds. There was Earth and there was Mobius, where Sonic could cross over between both worlds and have adventures in both the human environments and the anthropomorphic animal environments and such and so forth. And yeah, there were a few flaws to the discussion and to the theory of that. Mainly due to Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Unleashed, and among other things, and heck, I think Azuka-san even mentioned something about a bridge or something. I don't really know. I never really looked into it that much. But however, the two worlds theory has now been debunked. It is no longer a thing as of the current year. Because in Tails Tube, literally the first episode, Tails would go on to explain that Earth is inhabited by both the animal people and the humans. The animal people live on the smaller islands of Earth, so stuff like South Island, where Green Hill is, or West Side Island, where Emerald Hill and the chemical plant is from Sonic 2. While the humans live in bigger continents in the countries. So, like Apodos and Missouri, or Spagonia from Unleashed, or Soliana from Sonic 2006. And I will stress this right now that they aren't separated from each other. The humans and the animal people intermingle. Because, well, Amy lives in Central City, which is the capital of the United Federation, which is heavily populated by the humans. She has a room there, as evident by Sonic Battle. And there are humans that do visit the islands and such. So, they are not like culturally separated. Like the humans and the animal people are they are pretty much on good terms. You know, they all live on the same world. It's not weird to anybody. I mean, heck, you're talking about the same franchise that features both anthropomorphic animals and regular animals. Like, literally, regular animals from the animal kingdom just exist on that same world where Sonic lives. This is evident in '06 and Unleashed. Uh, so that's a little bit of world building for you, in case anyone didn't really know.
Mm. Very, very interesting for sure. I think I saw like a question in here.
Yes, I
think
have seen that we have a few people joining in. There's a lot of people here. Hello, Silver Sonic. I know you. You're cool. I know you. Hello, Trigger VA. I know you too. Yes, I'm gonna go in order and see exactly. Joey Glenn asked a question. Why in Sonic Forces Classic Sonic just magically gone away? I can happily answer that one. So, because obviously at the end of Forces, after the Eggman Empire was finally defeated, Eggman was beat, Infinite was gone, and the Resistance won the Eggman War. Classic Sonic just ended up disappearing, and he left back to his time. This was mainly due to the absence of the Phantom Ruby. So, after Sonic, Classic Sonic, and the Avatar did their triple boost and defeated the Mega Death Egg robot, the Phantom Ruby disappeared. Because if you see closely, the Phantom Ruby is no longer in the Death Egg robot after that final attack. So, with the Phantom Ruby gone, Classic Sonic couldn't stay in the modern era anymore. It is likely due to the Phantom Ruby that Classic Sonic was, in the modern time at the time. Funny play on words. But yeah, Classic Sonic, at the end of it all, he said goodbye and he made his way back to his time, where he ended up on Angel Island. However, despite the fact that the Phantom Ruby was gone and Classic Sonic went back to Angel Island, the Phantom Ruby went back with Classic Sonic. So after the triple boost and after Classic Sonic went back to his time, the Phantom Ruby followed Classic Sonic, and it came out of the portal that Classic Sonic came out of at Angel Island, and the Ruby just floated away. Classic Sonic wasn't even trying to follow it. Instead, the Phantom Ruby floated away through the tropical forest of Angel Island, which is Angel Island Zone for all you Sonic 3 and Knuckles people out there. And this would start off this interesting chain of reaction. This interesting chain. Dang it, I'm stumbling over my words again. This interesting chain of events where it combines both Sonic Mania's Encore mode and Sonic Mania Adventures. This is an unconfirmed thing, but it was explained by Tyson Hess. And Ian's exclaimed in the past that someone brought this up to him, and he was like, "Well, I'm not gonna go against Tyson." So yeah. So basically, the point of it is that Sonic Mania's Encore mode, which was the DLC that came out with Mighty and Ray playable, and Sonic Mania Adventures start off with Classic Sonic returning from Sonic Forces. However, they have both different outcomes. One is where the Phantom Ruby follows Classic Sonic into the portal, and the other where it's just Classic Sonic. Tyson has explained, that if we had to fit both of them into a timeline, is that both of them would happen simultaneously. Where Classic Sonic comes back to Angel Island in his time, the Phantom Ruby follows him and then floats away. Classic Sonic would look around to find dug holes around the environment, and then once he investigates, he finally sees Eggman in the Eggmobile flying away with a capsule of Flickies, and that would begin Mania Adventures. And then after Mania Adventures, Classic Sonic would be running through Angel Island, and then he'd come across Mighty and Ray, who are captured in a Schrodinger's capsule. I believe I'm saying that right. I don't think so, but yeah, and that begins Encore mode. And I believe this might be a canon explanation because Tails Tube shows footage of both Mania Adventures and Encore mode, and it's pretty much common. Like it's pretty much a hard fact that anything shown in Tails Tube is pretty much downright canon. Like they wouldn't like as far as I'm aware, the rule is that if certain things haven't been shown on Tails Tube, that means they aren't exactly confirmed to be canon, or at least like certain game footage can only be shown, and that that's the adventures that Sonic and Tails and everyone else went on. That's just my personal thinking on it. I don't exactly know if that's true, or maybe that's just because Sonic and Tails are talking and they need footage to show off what they're referencing and such. It's just a lot of it requires very, very thought out thinking, and sometimes it could hurt your head. Trust me, I've done it so many times. But yeah, pretty much it's mainly due to the Phantom Ruby that Classic Sonic disappeared after the events of Forces. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry for going on that long tangent. I was just trying to explain everything else afterwards because that time during Mania and Forces were an interesting time for the series. I think we all know that. Let me look to see if there's any other questions in the chat, just so we can knock these out one by one. Hello Rainbow, hello Trigger, hello Silver Sonic. Yeah, we were talking about Trip and Superstars. Joey was asking Kevin. I'm so sorry for being late on these questions, guys. When I talk, I talk. When I talk, I talk. I want Modern Mighty and Modern Ray in the games. I know, Silver, and I do too. I desperately would want that, but Sega is not going to do it right now. Maybe they will in the future, but it's not really likely. Let's see here. Oh, Joey Glenn asked this one question. Who are the hard-boiled heavies? Ah, yes. So, yes, the hard-boiled heavies, they are a group of 5 super badniks, or at least, Badnik-esque robots that Eggman created. They were originally an elite group of Egg Robos. If you know the Egg Robos, they're from Sky Sanctuary. During Sonic 3 and Knuckles. However, due to the Phantom Ruby and them trying to unearth it from Angel Island, the Phantom Ruby transformed them and evolved the Egg Robos into the hard-boiled heavies. I believe there was an original description, like, during the process of Mania, saying how, like, the Phantom Ruby changed the egg robos in to, like, represent the personalities of the animals inside them. So, however, that isn't exactly canon, but I would like that to be the canon explanation as to why they transformed in the first place. So, the reason why the egg robos transformed into the hard-boiled heavies are because of the animals that are inside them. Again, I don't know how. Again, I don't know what the action. I don't know. I don't know why the Phantom Ruby actually transformed them, because at the same time, it would have changed Sonic and Tails too when they were being transported to South Island, but that isn't the case. But yeah, so the hard-boiled heavies consist of 5 robots, technically 6. There's the Heavy King, who is their leader. There's the Heavy Gunner, who is a bit of a loose cannon. He's a loose cannon with a giant cannon. Isn't that funny? There's the Heavy Rider. She wields like a ball and chain, and she rides a Motobug, a very angry Motobug named Jimmy. There's the Heavy Magician, who specializes in magic, where she can transform herself into like illusions and such. And then there's the Heavy Shinobi. He's a ninja type robot who uses the Asterons, which are starfish badniks from Sonic 2. He uses them as ninja stars. So that's a funny little thing. And the hard-boiled heavies have been antagonists for a while now. They show up in Mania as antagonists against Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, as well as Mighty and Ray. And then they show up again in the IDW comics, where Heavy King tried to take over one of Eggman's bases where he would take over the world. However, Sonic and the gang defeated him, and thankfully, Eggman was, as much as I'd like to say, as much as I stress this enough, kind enough to his creations that after a software patch, Heavy King would become the commander of the Badniks. And thankfully, the rest of the hard-boiled heavies were also rebuilt after the events of Mania, where Heavy Rider, Heavy Shinobi, Heavy Magician, and Heavy Gunner were all Heavy King's generals. So they would pretty much, lead the Badniks at the time of the IDW comics. They haven't shown up in Superstars, as Superstars does take place after these events, but I'm sure they're still doing something. I'm sure. I hope. But yeah, that's pretty much those are pretty much the hard-boiled heavies. I will say this now: Heavy Gunner is actually one of my favorites out of all the 5. I really like Heavy Gunner. I actually think he's one of the most underrated. Honestly, despite the fact he's the first one you fight in Mania, but oh well, that's just me. That's just me. Let's see here. We have another question. We have Trigger VA. Speaking of modern, what are your thoughts on the new Dream Team game? Oof. I'm so sorry, Trigger, you have to hear this, but unfortunately, we won't be talking about Dream Team in this stream, mainly due to spoilers and because the game literally just came out yesterday. I apologize, but I'm sure in a future stream we will be able to talk about Dream Team eventually. I'm sorry.
Yes, as a reminder, everyone, please do not ask anything about Sonic Dream Team. It's so recent, and we want to be respectful and not spoil anything, especially if you want to play the game for yourself. So yes, we can't even say our thoughts on the game. As I said, that's going into spoiler territory. So please don't ask about Sonic Dream Team.
And it's also very unfortunate for me because I'm only halfway through the game. I haven't seen the ending yet, but I will be able to have my thoughts all taken down, all logged down by the time we do a next stream, and we will be able to talk about Dream Team by then. I hope. But yes, we will talk about we will be able to talk about Dream Team eventually. We also here we are. Here's a wow, really rapid questions. I'm kind of glad we were able to do this. We have a question from Rainboom. Oh no, that's not a question. Ha, whoops. Yeah, we're only allowed to talk about some questions from Monotonic Lore. Well, yes, that, but we are able to talk about past games as well. Again, like I said, we are able to talk about Superstars now, as it's been 2 months, almost 2 months since the game came out, and that's a pretty long wait to talk about the game. So, yeah, pretty much everything between classic and modern, we can talk about. Not not the IDW comics as of right now, but we can talk about everything else. I'd say those are a couple of good questions that were asked. Now I can finally turn back to Kevin and Leah for any questions that they may have for me.
What feature?
Ooh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lee. I'll let you go first. Sorry.
I actually have this. I've always been pondering this, Radar. I know in the first Sonic Riders games, they said the Babylon Rogues descended from genies, but then I don't know, in Zero Gravity they say they're descended from aliens. So um I'm kind of curious with why why the change of lore from where the Babylon Rogues like who's their ancestors, because it kind of gets a little confusing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can totally understand exactly why you think of that. So we are obviously talking about, Sonic Riders. We are talking about basically the ancestors of the Babylon Rogues, as you know, as currently Jet the Hawk, Wave the Swallow, and Storm the Albatross. Legendary thieves in the Sonic universe. However, they derive from the Babylonians. Um, yes, at the time of Sonic Riders, they were initially implied to be a species of genies, although it seems they have alien ancestry, in some sort of way, because they held highly advanced technology, especially in the form of the Astral Babylon, which was their spaceship, um, and eventually would come to know it as the floating island of Babylon Garden. Um, the Babylonians do have they do have a whole sorry about that. I sure love stumbling over my words. I might as well be Trip at this point. Ha. um yeah, the Babylonians, I guess you could say they're pretty much both in that sense. They are, like, they derive, yes, from genies, but they are also of alien descent. Um and yeah, that mainly due to, the existence of the Babylon Guardian, who is very genie like, and they were protecting the treasure of Babylon Garden, which we know as the magic carpet that Eggman stole from the teams. Unfortunately, we kind of know how that went for Eggman. He was not happy. Uh, uh, but no, he was very no though he was intrigued though. Um, but it was certainly a process to get there. Um, but yeah, so I think, yeah, pretty much the bottom line is that it's pretty much both, Leah. Like, they don't contradict each other. I guess it's just more or less the fact that it's they. Mm, I'm trying to figure out how to put this in a right way. They are they are they pretty much they are, they are. I'm just trying to make it not so confusing, um
Yeah.
just yeah, they are pretty much initially implied to just be, they are like genie like entities, but but they do come from space. They are of they are aliens like they are alien like aliens similar to that of like the Black Arms and such. Um and not and then again they're highly advanced technology that came with them from their spaceship, as well as the connections with the arcs of the cosmos. um in case you guys don't know, the arcs of the cosmos they were originally power sources that helped the astral Babylon, the Babylonian spaceship, able to warp across space. Um, Basically, the metallic stones that each of the characters, including one rogue robot that Eggman had, try to collect. And they can manipulate gravity, which is, the point of Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. But yeah, it is mainly their ancestry and also pretty much their designs, but um, yeah, it's pretty much just both, Leah. I don't know how else I can stress that enough, or if I can even stress it enough.
Yeah, because that always confused me for years. So, like, I know there was like fans out there questioning it too. It's like, oh, in the first Sonic Riders games, they said they descended from genies, and then and then it confused people. Like, are they descended from genies or are they descended from aliens? So I was very curious about that too, because um because like in a way some people might like portray it as like, are they retconning it, or because genies and aliens tend to be two different things, you know from other forms of media. So like I think that's why it confused a lot of people, and it, it certainly confused me for sure. I was
I'm
like, what?
sure, and I'm sure it was I'm sure it's confusing, but um, yeah, pretty much alien genies. That's pretty much it. Alien genies that are also bird-like. Since the legacy of the Babylonians would derive into the Babylon rogues.
Mm. That's very interesting to know, because I've been pondering it for years, and I'm just like, is it this or that? I'm kind of like, I don't know which one to go with, but that's a first, combining aliens and genies. That's an
All combining aliens, genies, and birds. All is fair in the world of Sonic.
oh, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, Kevin. I believe you have a question for Radar.
Yeah. So I now that I've asked about Trip's future, what kind of future do you see in Sage? Because we know, like at the end of Sonic Frontiers, and especially at the end of the Final Horizon, that she's not going to be this one-off character. She's going to be around, and it very much looks like she's going to be an emotional crutch for Eggman as she remained in her light form and all of that. So what do you think is going to happen to her going forward?
Yes. Personally, I think she does have a bright future. I don't really need to explain about Sage because Sonic Frontiers is still fairly new in in the space of the Sonic community. Especially with the DLC finally being out. Obviously with the Final Horizon, the ending changed to where instead of Sage sacrificing herself to stop the end with Supersonic, she was able to help alongside Tails, Amy, and Knuckles, and Eggman, where they can do their part and allow Sonic to defeat both the End and its avatar. And Sage would eventually um Sage would be able it's a very interesting thing because both endings of the original game and the Final Horizon pretty much are the same in a way, where it's in Ian's words, where the end is defeated and Sage shows up at the end of the game, pretty much. Like the outcomes of how it happened are just different. Like, yeah, but in terms of like with Sage, like I think her future is pretty bright. Mainly due to the fact that she is definitely going to have like a big impact on future stories. She had her cameo in the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog at the end of the game, where the Mirage Express wasn't going to arrive at Eggman's Egg Fortress. And so, yeah, but Sage and Metal Sonic were there alongside Eggman, and this Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog takes place after Frontiers. And I know we aren't going to talk about IDW, but I will mention this as well, that it is pretty much like, in Ian's words, it's hashtag common knowledge. No, sorry, it's hashtag common sense. That once IDW has finished up with its current stories, we are going to be moving on from After Forces, and we'll be moving on to After Frontiers. It is it's pretty much a no-brainer, especially to someone like Ian, that we are going to see Sage in the comics eventually, and that's pretty much that's mainly the main thing here. Once we finally see Sage in one of the IDW Sonic comics, that's when we've made the jump to After Frontiers. In case you guys aren't aware, the main IDW Sonic book of stories take place after the events of Forces, and as of right now, we are still in that time period where it's after Forces, after Eggman's huge takeover. But we will get Sage soon, and the comic will move on from that time period and do something where it's post Frontiers, where we will shift priorities over to the stuff that happened after the events of the Starfall Islands adventure.
Yeah, and that wouldn't surprise me one bit, because especially at the very last scene of the Final Horizons, Eggman says to Sage, come on, Sage, let's go home, and of course Sage replies, home. I like the sound of that. That further implies that she is not going to be this one-off character. She didn't sacrifice herself, and never to be seen again.
Exactly. Yeah, so I genuinely do think that Sage does have a really bright future ahead of her. We're just seeing like the smallest glimpses here and there. But we will get more of her eventually. Again, it mainly relies on when IDW does shift over to post Frontier stories. And I think now that we're talking about Sage, we can move on to another one of my fun facts. Which is also from the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. So, as you all know, Sage and Metal Sonic had their little cameo appearances with Eggman at the end of the game, and they were both wearing shirts that said "Let's go, Dad" on them. As you know, Sage refers to Eggman as her father, and since that means a lot of the creations Eggman has made are technically Sage's siblings. She refers to Metal Sonic, Orbot, and Cubot as her brothers. So they're that's just mainly on her though, not necessarily on Metal Sonic. It was basically confirmed by the artist, the main artist for the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, Digimin or Minokim, as you may know from IDW Sonic. The intention of that final scene there was that Sage basically put the shirts on her and Metal Sonic and basically grabbed a Sharpie and did the message on the shirts to basically cheer on Eggman. However, that didn't really go so well, as the Mirage Express didn't arrive at Eggman's base and he was pretty angry about it. But yeah, that's mainly what that was. Is that the shirts that Metal Sonic and Sage were? That was all Sage. That was all her.
There's one other comic I want to say about Sage, is that she's bringing out more of the human side of Eggman, and not just I'm the mad scientist and I'm going to take it over the world. And of course, we have seen this human side of Eggman before. I'll say, like the scene from Sonic X-39 when he and Sonic were just kind of chilling, having a moment. So I think there's a lot of potential just to develop Eggman as the character and Eggman and Sage's dynamic. Hence the mention of an emotional quest for Eggman earlier.
Yeah. Um. Oh my gosh. Heck. Um. It's yeah. Sage does bring out a little bit of humanity in Eggman, but it's also been said by Ian that Sage might as well make Eggman even worse than he is now. Where, you know, father will do anything for his little girl. If Sage thinks that there is, a scientific calculation as to why there should be something erased off of Earth, Eggman will do as she says. Or if Sonic goes in, or if Sonic or some of the heroes go into you know, a possible chance that Sage gets hurt, Eggman's going full mech and he's going all out to protect her. It's like, yeah, pretty much. Like, Eggman has humanity towards her, but he will become a monster if someone were to do something to her, or if someone were to stand in her way.
Do you see Sage as like the symbol of that, the innocent little girl, as like, very pure for this world, like the one that you would dare not hurt or else type of thing? I hope I'm getting my words right there.
She, she is basic. She, hmm. She will do what is necessary for her father to win. I'm merely going off of what Ian has said on the Bumblecast, where Sage was created by Eggman, and she has this growing relationship with him, and she will see, and obviously, yes, some things like the team up with Sonic during the Final Horizon was necessary, but it would allow Eggman to take over the world in the future. Um, when she mentioned how, when she was talking about in the Final Horizon, how Sonic could convert his cyber corruption into a power where they can stop the end and be able, and she would, Sonic would be able to save everyone, including Eggman, and Sonic would say, "And save the world too." Yeah, and Sage would respond with, "It is his to conquer, so yes." And Sonic jokingly says, "Yeah, we'll come to that bridge when we get to it." So yeah, she is not she. I can't exactly say like if she is the innocent little girl that no one should dare to try hurt, but especially since she well, it especially since she's able to control robots to with her own power and such, with her being an AI and everything. But um, I will say that she is showing a bit of humanity. That is like her arc. She is an AI learning of humanity and learning how to feel and such. But that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that she, is, you know, she isn't doing this for the better. She's, she's learned, but she's still gonna be at Eggman's side.
Yeah, of course. And she does have that light side, emotional side that's shown, like when she turns white from black and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, at least that's what we've been theorizing at the time, like that blue and white form of hers that she changes like in her color palette. That does seem to be tied to her learning emotion as an AI, and at least that's what most people think. At least that's what most people think at the yeah. It could be something else though, but that's just like the main popular theory at the moment.
I see a lot of potential for development in that area in the future. But anyway, Let's go on to see if there are any other questions because I don't want to hog the spotlight here. There's so much I could say
You're
about
fine.
Save.
You're
I don't want to
fine.
hog the spotlight at all.
Let's see. Here we go. Now we've got a question from Rainbow. It's a real question, so that way it doesn't confuse you. What is your most favorite Sonic modern game that you've played? Now, I would like to direct this question over to Leah and Kevin. I'm sorry, Rainbow, that I can't answer. It's just something that we decided on where I'm not really going to be sharing my opinions on certain Sonic games. I'm just going to be answering any story related questions. However, if they are of like opinionated questions, I will refer to Leah and Kevin on those. So, Leah, Kevin, if you can answer, what is your favorite Sonic modern game that you
Yeah,
play?
I'm gonna
Oh
let you
no,
go
don't
first.
worry, Rainbow. It's totally fine. I completely forgot to mention that before. No, you're okay. You're totally fine. It's quite all right. Quite all right. I promise. Uh, I believe Kevin, were you gonna go first?
I'm gonna let Leah go first.
Oh, oh gosh. I I would have to say it's like a tie between Frontiers and Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Because Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, that's the closest that we'll get to a Scooby Doo. Once you do like mystery, a mystery, it was like a game that no one expected for sure. And that game really gave the other characters the spotlight, even though it's centered around the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog in quotations. But yeah, I would say like Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog because for sure I really love the mystery aesthetic, and that it's definitely a first that they actually made a murder mystery game for Sonic, and you actually get to see like the other characters, spotlight, especially the interrogation, all those interrogation scenes were really amazing. And you can tell the other characters were in their roles like pretty well, especially SBO. You can clearly see SBO really into his role as the poet.
I got a kick when Shadow says like, "I have social standards. I must get Amy a gift." Like I was not expecting that out of him. That got me.
And
Oh yeah.
Shadow's not a social person. He really isn't. Although, yeah, as much as people, as I know people talk about that part a lot because that doesn't really seem like Shadow, but I well, let's be honest here. This is Shadow the Hedgehog. When has he had a consistent character?
Yeah.
Joe.
I think yeah, like I kind of like how the mystery was set up, the lore cards. I was like, "Whoa." Like it makes me want to try out a murder mystery, Like because of the way it's set up, and of course we all know the 180 in that game. But I'm kind of like I think I kind of expected it at this point. Whenever Sonic and the gang want to do something fun, Eggman's always right in the middle of it in some way. But yeah, Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, I think it caught all of us off guard, like because at first people were like, "Is this real?" Because this literally released on like April Fools, and and I remember there was like a funny uproar that like people were like, "Is this a real game?" And then, of course, the Sonic official, like, social media said, "Yeah, this is a real game. It's on Steam and it's free." So, but yeah, like the fact that it was a murder mystery, that was a 10 out of 10 in my book, and and we actually did this really fun live stream with Ultimate when we
Oh,
played the
that
game.
was great.
It was glorious. So that's definitely, and then of course I actually said this when yeah, I was featured in one of the Sonic Speed Cafe other video, not the recap video, where the manager was actually asked me and my two friends, like, "What's your favorite Sonic game?" It's Frontiers, so it's between those two games because I can't choose.
Yeah, mine would be Sonic Mania and of course Sonic Mania Plus because that was the game that fans, including myself, were waiting for a very, very long time. And I still remember the reveal for this day. It's like everyone was just like in complete shock, and then they were all cheering and everything. And then the reveal of Mighty and Ray returning, two characters we haven't seen in a long, long, long time. That was one of the biggest surprises for me.
Mhm. For sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, Matthew Plays, that's more of a question for Radar. Matthew Plays literally asks, "Is Murders of Sonic the Hedgehog game canon?" And I know you kind of mentioned it earlier, where
Yeah, I did. I will reiterate what I did say earlier. So to ask you, Matthew Plays, the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog isn't confirmed to be canon. However, there is the little joke description on its Steam page regarding like, oh, it's not like it we believe in headcanon and all that. Like, because the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog was a game created by the social media team, not by Sonic Team. However, it's still an official Sonic game. Um, the only reason why I have the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog here on my project is mainly just because of how well received it was by the fandom. Like, there was nothing, like, no ill will towards the game. Like, everyone enjoyed it. So I was like, how could you not want this canon? So, like, and again, I haven't, like, nothing's been debunked yet, so I have the game here until someone says, like, either Ian or someone from Sega says that it isn't exactly canon. Um, but you know, it's half and half. I guess I'd say it's not canon, but it's totally fine if you think it is. Like no, it doesn't really hurt anything. Just the fact that it just takes place after Frontiers. It's totally cool. It's just a fun little game that was created for the community, and honestly, that the widespread love for it surprised me. But hey, this is the
yeah,
Sonic fandom. What do I know?
yeah, it's like one of those, like, I was pretty surprised there was no views on it. So, like, I think that just shows that um uh, uh, like I said before, it's one of my favorite games because it gives the other characters the spotlight. It's not just Sonic. It's like, sure, it's centered because Sonic's name is in the title, but you know, for most of it, he's he's playing the role that he's supposed to be doing. So, like, I love all the different interactions, and I gotta say, like, I actually love the Quokka character, for sure, the avatar. Um, but I think one of the neat things is that, like, if you try to put specific names, they actually put, like, coding for that. So if you try to name it one of the other Sonic characters, it says, "Sorry, you can't," it kinda gives you a message that you can't put that name. But then I came up with this funny thing, but wait a minute, what if a real life person's name is Amy, though? So, I
That was
found
a
that
funny
an
thing, though.
interesting I found it an interesting detail. So yeah, you can't put any of the Sonic characters' names and stuff, but according to what I've, heard, like the Quokka's, like, I guess, quote unquote canon name is Barry. I don't know, that's what
Not
from
exactly canon, but like that is like Barry the Quokka is used in the advertisements and just like what the people at Sega like refer to the Quokka character. It's still an Avatar character, much like the Avatar from Sonic Forces, but not just advertisements, but also like its internal name was Barry. So yeah,
Yeah.
we just refer to it as Barry when we're talking about the game outside of the avatar aspect.
Yeah,
I also want to say like prop to the people that designed the characters' costume. That was actually like two real life cosplays of Sonic and Amy from the Murder Sonics. That was like really well done.
Yeah, that yeah, that was yeah, that was yeah, the costumes were all done by Minokim. I think he did pretty great on those. I believe he posted like the expression sheets of the characters and then also like the multiple different the multiple different expressions of each character respectively. So like it's yeah, I honestly thought they were pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy that Sonic and the others all got like all cool outfits. Um it's I just yeah, I'm not sure if any of you guys know this, but there is this weird thing specifically towards different characters where um the male characters of Sonic aren't supposed to wear anything else besides gloves and shoes while the females are supposed to be like fully clothed. That's a thing that's been part of the franchise for a while now. But when official Sonic media comes out and they do stuff like this or the stuff they did with uh or other examples like the Sonic Channel media stuff where they do have the characters wearing like winter outfits or accessories and everything. I just love that. I think it's pretty cool. Heck, I can talk about a more recent example in the form of this year's Sonic Channel stories. Um, let me give a little recap about this. These are the Sonic Channel stories of this year. The translated name is referred to as the Otherworld Comedies. Basically, Eggman tried to use the Phantom Ruby again, and it caused Earth to go through a weird thing. Where the Phantom Ruby covered the entire planet in this weird film of light, and it would cause these illusionary scenarios with the characters. So like stuff like Shadow and Infinite in a rock band, or Vector as a superhero, or Tails and Marine reciting Romeo and Juliet, or Jimro, Orbine, Cubot as a Grandbot Kaiser robot. And it's like it is this whole interesting set of stories with all these characters that we know, but they're being put into like these stories that you wouldn't normally see them partake in. Like here, Tikal and Chaos, working their own little pizza diner. And of course, like as you know, Elise coming back in one of these stories alongside Silver as figure skaters in a Soliana show. Like it's pretty surreal stuff. I genuinely enjoy these just for the fact that we get to see all these cool costumes the characters get to be put in. Um, it's so cool. Silver and Blaze is a maid and butler. Cream is a detective. Big as a mafia don. Sonic as a jester. Amy like going full fortune teller. Um, Even the Avatar from Forces even got like this weird thing with an egg pawn for the prologue. So it's like it's a pretty funny thing. I just genuinely enjoy how creative like the people at Sega of Japan went with these. Like, when are you ever gonna see Tails in a dress? That's awesome. Like, come on, that's fun. When are you gonna see Gmro on the same side as Orbot and Cubot? Again, when are you going to see Vector as a full-blown superhero? Or, Shadow and Infinite just in the same proximity as each other? Again, just funny little things, and I just really enjoy these. They're
Yeah.
really awesome.
I seen Princess Elise make a return in that one artwork. That was quite a surprise because
Mm-hmm.
she was a one-off character from Sonic 06, and we never saw her again.
Yeah, and the implications of this are interesting because in Sonic 06 we see her as, almost an adult as princess. But here in these stories, here she is. She's I believe like 6 to 7 years younger, I believe she was. Like this is her from the past in those segments with Silver and Shadow from 06. Um I do have to reread the stories, and because I think some of these may be also like weird timey-wimey things, because Tikal and Chaos's story involves the Knuckles clan, Pachacamac and the ancient Echidnas, and again, I think it's just like it's a weird Phantom Ruby thing. I don't exactly know, but yeah, main thing is that it's really interesting that Elise came back after all these years, and people were really positive about it. Because, like, we all know about Sonic 06. We all know about Sonic 06.
Look at how
We
adorable
all know
Elise
about
looks
what went
in
down
that.
with Elise and Sonic and all that. But now she was received very, very positively, and I'm actually really happy. I'm really happy about that. Hmm. Um. Do you guys have anything else? Because I am gonna go into my next I am gonna go next into my fun facts again.
Please
Oh,
proceed.
sure. Yep.
Please proceed. All right, you asked for it. So, here we are with my next fun facts. Um, so the Sonic Channel stories were actually a bunch of stories that were community voted. So the Sonic official Japan Twitter would post these vote tweets where people could vote on which characters would be featured with said character. Um, so for I can go through all of these and like talk about like which characters were supposed to be chosen as like an alternative. So for story one, Shadow was the highlight of the story, but people would have chosen either between Infinite or if Cream would have been with Shadow. Um, in the second story, Amy is the center of the story, and people would have chosen either between Blaze or Metal Sonic. So like it's all these alternate takes on like what ifs, because like these were like the options given to the audience, the voters. Like which characters did we really want to see with the main center character? Um, in the third story, Tikal was the main center, and it would have been either between Chaos or her father, Pachacamac. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Even Ian has trouble with this. um, here, Silver was the main center of this story, and how this one's interesting because the voters would have chosen either between Elise or Merlina from Sonic and the Black Knight, which was
Oh.
interesting, but also strange, as technically Silver's never really interacted with Merlina. That would technically go to Sir Galahad. As we all know, Sir Galahad is the Black Knight counterpart of Silver. Sorry about that. My throat is being weird. The fifth story, Vector was the highlight, and we would have had chosen between either Vanilla or Cream. Cream had a lot of chances to pretty much show up in this. But although I am happy about this one though. If you know, you know. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. For the sixth story, Tails was the main center, and we would have chosen either between Marine or Wave if she would have shown up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would have been like a whole rivalry story, but we got Marine instead, and I'm actually happy with this one mainly because Tails and Marine haven't interacted since Rush Adventure, so very happy about that one. This one here, Orbot and Cubot were both the center of this story, and we would have had a story that centered, we would have chosen between Gmro or Metal Sonic. I would have liked to have seen a story with them, with the, Morbot and Cubot hanging out with their big bro, but I'm happy with this one though. This was an interesting pair. The ape story, this one featured Blaze as the main center. However, this one was not that hard for people to vote on because it gave people the chance to either vote on either Silver or Omo Chow. Obviously people chose Silver because, like, why the heck not? However, Omo Chow does make a return, so don't fret, Omo Chow fans. He's right here. He's good and okay. The ninth story, the ninth story had Rouge as the center, and we would have had to have chosen either between Omega or Shadow. So we would have had either of them show up. And I'm pretty sure people chose Omega just because Shadow already showed up. So I feel like it was only fair, which makes sense. The 10th story featured Cream as the main one for this one. So despite the fact that she didn't get voted for either story, she got her own story. And people would have chosen either between Big or Amy. And again, just I like the fact Amy already showed up in the stories, Big got a chance to show up, and I'm just saying, Mob Boss Big is the best thing to ever come from the series. Come on. That's crazy. Here we are. And then we finally got around to the last few stories of the year where things started to ramp up, where we had Knuckles as the main head for story 11. However, we had a 3-way vote this time, where we would have chosen either between from Sonic or either Rouge or Infinite. And once again, Infinite and Rouge had already had a chance to show up, although there were a close call. I would have liked to see Infinite versus Knuckles, and a lot of people really wanted to see Knuckles and Rouge in a thing together, but and plus, like, it's Sonic. He would have shown up in the last story anyways, but nope. We got Sonic. And honestly, I'm happy with this one.
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at his
Also,
gesture.
a lot of people say he alluded to Pomni from that Mad Day TV show that also came out. That got a lot of popularity as well.
Yeah, I was there for that. That was an interesting time on the internet. And then, of course, this one I have to highlight very much so, where we got our final story, where we have a Phantom Ruby powered Super Eggman versus Super Sonic. And this one is actually where things got very interesting, where we didn't choose which characters showed up, we choose where the characters were going to be set in. We would have chosen where their environment was going to be for the final battle of these stories. And our options were either Station Square or the special stage from Sonic 1. I would have loved to have seen the special stage just because out of all the locations we could have had a final battle, the special stage would have had like a whole symbolic thing because, that's where the Chaos Emeralds go to be collected and such. I just feel like it would have been perfect, but we ended up with Station Square. I'm also gonna explain this as well since it's part of modern and everything. So yeah, it'll make sense. Letting everyone know that Station Square is okay. Station Square was rebuilt after the events of Sonic Adventure. I know that's not technically shown, but it is canon. In this story in particular, this is mainly due to the Phantom Ruby, where it's showing us that exact same Station Square that was ravaged by perfect chaos. Which, actually, in this story, it's referred to as the Egg Field. But yeah, the Phantom Ruby is basically casting illusion on Station Square. It's rebuilt, but it looks destroyed because of the Ruby. Outside of these stories, however, I can confirm that Station Square was rebuilt. And we will talk about that when we get to IDW. So yeah, but just stressing this right now, Station Square is okay. I promise. But
Mm.
yeah, that's pretty much my fun fact. That's pretty much, you know, like I'm telling you all these characters, which ones we could have had alternate stories on, like we could have had different outcomes. But what we got, like really solid stuff. They started up a brand new calendar. Um, so I believe the start of it's gonna be Sonic, and we will see.
Very interesting. I love the Sonic Channel like content. Like every time it's like whenever it's a new month, I'm like, oh, I want to see what they post. They're you gotta admit their stuff is really amazing. So especially like especially the ones with the stories, like
It
for sure.
is.
I think my favorite one, I'm trying to think which one's like my favorite story. One I would say probably either between the Cream Big one and then the Silver and Blaze one. I think those were like my favorites.
Yeah, honestly, just gosh, I couldn't it's just fun, getting like all these characters in like specific scenarios, and it's just like it's really funny. Again, this Cream and Biggs one is my favorite just because I know I want to give a shout out to MSP Nova for creating a little fan comic series about Cream being a detective with the Chaotix. The fact that it's canon is so funny to me. But come on. Mob Boss Big. Mob Boss Big. Come on. If I know like it is a common thing in the series. We all know Big pretty much just transcends space and time, but this is just beautiful. Ugh.
Like, ooh. Like,
It's just so good, right? It's really good. Uh Kevin, do you have any thoughts to share about Sonic Channel and all
Yeah,
its
they've really, like, I agree with Leo. They've been producing some great content. Like, I'd say that this year, the way they did this year was very interesting because it wasn't just, oh, here's the picture for this month. No, them putting like an actual story into it. That was very creative.
Mm-hmm. And also shout out to 2021's stories, which are technically, the beginning of these calendar stories, where it was pretty simple. Eggman was planning on utilizing technology from the space colony arc. So Sonic and all his friends, they're out trying to find the Chaos Emeralds, run into a few rivals, and then end it off in a space battle. It's pretty cool stuff. And also, um a lot of these stories would have like set scenes for what is pretty much confirmed in the series. There's a lot of like interesting stuff, like in Sonic and Rouge's story, they go to the remains of Eggman Land from Sonic Unleashed, the dark Gaia powered Eggman Land, and it's pretty much confirmed in the story that that place has been rotting since Unleashed. It's been abandoned. No, Dark Gaia doesn't power it anymore, so the structure's just been left there. Um, or here, this story with Sonic and the Wisps. I can confirm here that this Jade Wisp is the same one from Rise of the Wisps that Sonic and Tails befriend on Sweet Mountain. And also Yakker's
oh,
back, so that's cool. And then there's this one. This story with Sonic and Blaze. This one actually leads into IDW, surprisingly, because this was, in Ian's words, this was him picking up the pieces of these stories here and going off of them. Here, Sonic is transported to the Soul Dimension, and Blaze is actually trying to fend off remains of the robot pirates from Rush Adventure, but also Captain Whisker, who somehow survived his last battle against Sonic and Blaze, but he's a headless husk of what he used to be, and he's just aimlessly trying to get after the jeweled scepter at the Coral Cave. Um, Rush Adventure, if you guys don't know, it's a whole adventure in Blaze's dimension where Eggman created robot pirates are trying to steal the jeweled scepter, which would allow access to a power that basically it basically allows Sonic and Blaze's dimensions to basically be parallel to each other and not cause any unfortunate things to happen to said dimensions. And also introduced a Marine, and introduced Captain Whisker, who was that main antagonist throughout that whole story, at least up until the end. But yeah, pretty much this story like sets the scene for a future story in IDW. So it's pretty interesting stuff here. Not to mention you also get like just these one-off um these one-off stories with like characters you don't often see like side by side. Like you don't often see Sonic and Vector together, but here they are. They're in Alpados from Unleashed. Um, a good Sonic and Silver just having their own little adventure at Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06. So yeah, my favorite thing, obviously, when it comes to Sonic stories, is just the funny interactions when it comes to unusual duos or trios. It's just which character would be what's a character that you often don't see in the series interact with another character from the series, and Sonic Channel just does that. It's pretty fun stuff.
Oh, for sure. Like that I can agree. Like I think as I said previously, I think one of the interesting strengths of Murder Sonic the Hedgehog is the character interactions. Like I think one of my favorite ones has to be between Rouge and Blaze because we don't see that often. And their interactions in that game kind of gives us like an idea, like the of how they would interact. Because like from what I've noticed, I haven't really seen like a Rouge and Blaze, so that's what I was wondering.
Just
Why there
adding.
has been.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I know. Please continue. Take it over the delay on my end.
Oh,
Oh, it's quite all right.
but yeah, like I think, it's like you said, Radar, like Sonic Channel kind of fills in about, oh, how of like the character interactions we don't get to see that often. Like for sure Sonic and Vector, it's very, very rare to see that.
And
Um,
I just want to add to that, like one of the strengths of the franchise in general is that you can put any two characters in a room and they will just go off in some way because of their varying personalities.
mhm.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Do we have anything to see from the chat? Oh, we have a couple of cool things. We have hello Boone, hello Dolius, welcome to the stream. Let's see. I wonder how the music would have been like if it was in the special stage. Well, that's the thing. Like it's just art pieces. They aren't like, videos or animations or anything. It's just little art pieces, Dolius, but again, I would have liked to have seen the special stage, but again, I'm just genuinely happy that we have Super Eggman existing. Come on. Come on. Best thing
Uh,
ever. Best thing ever. Eggman gets a super form. It's about time. Uh and like
I
his mustache really glows. Look at that gorgeous stash.
If that ever appeared like in a game or in one of the comics, I would be very happy. I would pay to see how that battle goes down.
I think what's interesting is that was it like the most recent Twitter takeover? I think someone asked the Eggman about that on the Twitter takeover.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I will say this. I will confirm this. The Twitter takeovers aren't exactly canon. However, there are elements that derive from it that are canon now. I think that mainly comes from Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, but yeah, pretty much someone on Twitter asked, Eggman and the others about like, oh, Eggman having a super form or something like that, and like they joked about it, saying how like, oh, his mustache would glow yellow, and like, yeah, he would fly around and shoot eggs from his sleeves, and it's like, and then and then Eggman, out of anger and like out of like, you know, um disrespect from Sonic and Co. Like he actually did glow super and start shooting eggs out of his sleeves, and it's like a whole thing. But like now we actually have a super Eggman, and his mustache does glow. But I'm not sure about the whole egg throwing thing. But if they do reference that, because these stories haven't ended yet, there is a finale epilogue / part 2 that's supposed to come out soon. But if he starts throwing eggs out of his sleeves, I'm gonna throw my computer off to the room.
And I know, like, there's been a fan theory for quite a while. Like, okay, well, what if Eggman did have a super form? What would happen if he collected all the Chaos Emeralds, or so to say? Would he have like a super form? Would he have a hyper form, etc.? So
Now we actually have something here, so that's wow, truly amazing. Hello, Boone. Nice to see you.
I like to think they got the inspiration a bit, from that Twitter takeover in some way.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't exactly be surprised. But who knows? Who knows? I know that Sega of America and Sega of Japan have been working very closely nowadays compared to how it was back then, but I'm very confident in the fact that there could possibly be could possibly be some back and forth on the idea. Just yeah, pretty much. Do we have anything from the chat? Let's see, something that Martin Brown said. Ah, yes, that is a thing. That is a thing. We in terms of the TV shows and the early comic books, that's yeah. Yeah, I will say this, that the Sonic characters, they are interesting creatures in the sense that they have blobs for feet. That's a whole thing. And yeah, we see that a lot in the official art, where it's pretty much, yeah, they just have blobs. They just have blobs for feet. And that's not usually the case in other continuities, and unfortunately, I'm glad that isn't the case in the games. But yeah, the movies, it's more animal like in the movies. It's more animal like, but not necessarily when it comes to. But yeah, when it comes to the TV shows and the Archie comics mainly, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Let's move on, shall we? Does anyone else have a question?
Wait. I'm just scrolling through your doc right now, so let me see where. It's a lot of pages, so.
I have one while Leah's thinking of one. So, in your personal theory, what do you think is going to happen in the next Tail Tube? Your personal headcanon, your personal theory. What do you think will happen?
I don't know. It's Tails Tube. When it comes to stuff like this, I couldn't possibly imagine, because like I was pretty excited for season 2, but when they came out with the 5th episode here, I'm just referring to this the 5th episode here. When they came out with the 5th episode, it exceeded my expectations. We moved from Tails' Mystic Ruins workshop to his Lost Hex laboratory. Whole new environment. a whole new segment, and Tails actually had Sonic and the others with him this time around. I do think that is mainly because, they use the VTuber models that Sega of Japan has been using for other promotional stuff with Sonic, and I don't exactly know if there are other characters that have VTuber models. I think that's mainly why we haven't seen any other characters aside from like Sonic, Amy, Knuckles, um, Eggman, and Orbot had one. Yeah, Orbot and Cubot have VTuber models, but I don't exactly know if any of the other characters do. So I feel like we're just gonna have to wait and see if like Shadow or Rouge or even Blaze shows up in one of these. But anything at all. Like, I can't really set expectations for something like Tales 2 if they go out of their way to do something like this, referencing the classic games. For all I know, they could possibly do something where it's like, oh, maybe we go and Shadow comes around, we talk about stuff from the Space Colony arc, stuff with Gun, see like what's the current status of things. Blaze, if she were to show up, or Silver, we talk about the Soul Dimension or Silver's future, or it's just anything can happen, and I'm just gonna sit here and wait. That is simply it, my friend.
Mm.
Or waiting with anticipation.
Ooh.
We wait, very much so.
Ooh, okay. I've been very curious about the ghost tale. You know, the one that kind of featured the ghost from the Night of the Werehog. Um I've been very curious about, like, I kind of noticed when you watch that short, I guess, like, is it like considered the sequel in a way, like a short sequel to the Night of the Werehog? Because I'm not really sure if it's considered canon or anything.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you mean. So if people don't exactly know what this is, pretty much what you said there. Ghost Tale is supposed to be pretty much, a spiritual sequel to Night of the Werehog that Marza animated in time for Halloween this year. And it features Sue, Wu, and Law, the ghosts that lived in the haunted mansion that Sonic and Chip visited back during the events of Unleash. Um, it pretty much is a sequel to Night of the Werehog. Just because Marza has stated that to be the case, because they mentioned, oh, it's been 16 years since Night of the Werehog, and they show what the ghosts have been up to lately. So pretty much, yeah, and also because Marza is in. If you guys don't know, Marza Animation Planet has been doing a lot of the CGI Sonic cutscenes. They mainly do like obviously Unleashed animations were done by them. They did all the promotional CGI trailers for Forces and Team Sonic Racing and Frontiers as well. And I think they also did the stuff for Superstars, the animations with the characters there. And Mars has also done the animation for the Sonic movies with Sonic and Sonic Tails, Knuckles, and all the characters and such. Marza is owned by Sega. In case if anyone didn't really know that, Marza is a subsidiary of Sega. So, despite the fact that the ghosts are owned by Marza, they are still under the umbrella of Sega. I do believe Ian talked about its canonicity, saying how because they're owned by Marza, we don't exactly know if they are Sonic canon. However, again, with confirmation that this is being a sequel to Night of the Werehog, and also a little bit of a reference in IDW that we will talk about in the future in case we bring it up, I think it's pretty much safe to say that it's okay to be here. It's just one of those things where it doesn't really affect the canon. It's just something that happens on Sonic's world. It's just there.
Mm. I I also kind of noticed that I think the girl ghost is named La, right? If
Yeah,
I
that's her.
I kind of notice when she tries to lift stuff, just like the other two, I'm very curious, is her powers just dormant or she can't levitate
Hmm.
stuff like the other two? I've been curious about that.
Hard to say, really, because as we know from Night of the Werehog, she can change her form, and you know, she transformed into Chip just so she can take a picture with Werehog Sonic, because she pretty much she's a pretty much a fan of like monsters, like how like the werewolf man and all that stuff. She has powers, but I'm guessing yeah, she really isn't not really. She can't I guess she can't exactly levitate things like most like the other ghosts, Su and Wu, as they were showing off their levitation powers. It's just a small short. You can't really like you know I guess it's just the fact that it's straightforward. Like, she has powers of her own, she just doesn't have specific ones like the others do. um I don't know. Or yeah, it's kind of hard to say. I know that Marza posts a lot of artworks of the ghosts. So I do want to like take the time to like research those tweets that they post and see exactly like what they can or cannot do. Um I haven't really looked into it yet, but I will eventually.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting because it's like you said, like she does know how to shapeshift and stuff, but then it's like, so she can't really levitate stuff, like the other two. So it's like,
Yeah,
like,
it's yeah, pretty much.
yeah, like I actually like the short too. Like it definitely kept them in character as well. Like after like was did you say like 16 years that Marza posted that was
Yeah,
16 years?
pretty much.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I found it super adorable that the other two were like, okay, let's make her happy. We'll live we'll live whatever she wants to try to live at the end and that part made me laugh and I'm like, oh, this is adorable. Okay, they still have a thing for her. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Hmm.
Ooh, looks like we are going to have to end it right here.
Is it that time
Um,
again?
Boy, that time flew. But boy, those 2 hours flew by.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
I'd
sure.
say.
Yeah, it's so great to learn about the modern era because the modern era is very, very vast and it's still going. Um, but yeah, learning about the different lores from the games, especially like um, at least trying to help better understand the two different descendants in terms of the Babylon rogues and who they descend from. Um, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the third episode of Sonic Lore with Radar. Um, the next Goddess Spotlight with Leah Serenity Rose is coming soon. So stay tuned for that. It will be coming soon. The announcement of that will be coming soon. The Lucky Charm podcast, I'm still waiting on Guy, aka the Cartoon Hotspot, to confirm to me another date for the second episode. And stay tuned everyone. I am going to be doing an end of the year live stream. Another fun live stream for this. To before the end of the year with some of my Revo buddies. So stay tuned for those coming up. So
Hmm.
um do you have any final words, Peter?
And I will confirm that as I said, we wouldn't be talking about IDW mainly due to the fact that episode 4, yes, episode 4, we have plans to talk about IDW Sonic, the main book. We will be talking about everything that's occurred, all the way from issue 1 to by the time we get to the next one, we will be able to talk about issue 67. So that's a whole bunch of comics we'll be able to talk about and everything in between. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, stay tuned for the end of the year live stream because I will be joining my fellow Revolution friends and Leah there. We're going to be having a very, very, very fun party and probably the only party I'll be able to have because I don't tend to go to end of year parties. So, um, but yeah, that is pretty much it. I will, yeah, that's all I've got to say. And yeah, thank you, Leah, for doing this once again with me. And thank you, Kevin, for co-hosting. Glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to Sonic Wars 401 already.
Mm.
Yeah, so may you all have a wonderful night, and thank you all for tuning in to this to the third episode.